Hey guys, I know what you're thinking. Hey Dave from Vares Media, I need a comparison between the Sony ZV-E10 and the A7c because one camera that is nearly thrice the price of the other is clearly the direct alternative in that purchase decision. But wait, it's not such a silly idea. Maybe you're thinking about upgrading or adding to your ZV-E10. Perhaps you want a compact companion camera for your full frame setup, or maybe you're just debating an initial interchangeable lens setup and comparing the choices between Sony's crop and full frame entry-level options. Therefore, these guys might be potently productive partners or assiduously attractive alternatives for you. But how will we compare them? I better jump to an overview. You'll find timestamps in the description to help navigate the sections, along with related video and affiliate links to learn more and support the channel respectively. The settings used on both cameras are shown on screen now, which are basically identical wherever possible, though our side-by-sides use different lenses because while both cameras can work with crop or full frame E-mount lenses, I don't have duplicates of my lenses to match them exactly. And lastly, if you enjoyed the video, then please do like, subscribe, comment, and check out the affiliate links to support the channel and keep it going. And with that said, let's begin by talking core features. The ZV-E10 has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sized crop sensor, which delivers 4K video oversampled down from 6K at up to 30 frames per second and 1080p video at up to 120 frames per second. The A7c has a number of similarities: 24.2 megapixels, the same frame rates, the same oversampled 4K. But critically, this is a full frame sensor in a small package, which has a total light gathering surface area more than twice the size of what you get with a crop sensor. In theory, that should mean you get more bokeh and better low light performance with the A7c when all other factors are held equal. But will the reality match up? And how big will the differences be? We will cover those questions later, but right now I want to start with the same thing Nicolas Cage's acting coach suggests: really focusing on stability. Both of these cameras have some built-in stabilization solutions, but they differ quite a bit. The ZV-E10 has digital stabilization with active steady shot. This crops into the image by a pretty heavy 1.4 times and unfortunately doesn't do much to fix the wobbly rolling shutter that the ZV-E10 sometimes suffers with, which means I don't recommend it as the optimal option for vlogging. However, active steady shot will do a good job for handheld and static shots, but watch out. It will work for most lenses, but not all. For instance, my Sony 18-105mm f4G won't allow me to use active steady shot. Instead, you only get the option of standard steady shot, which is Sony's fancy name for the in-lens stabilization. Now, that lens has good in-lens stabilization, so no harm done, but be aware of this and check compatibility with your intended lenses. So, you might argue that the A7c is better thanks to its built-in steady shot, or more traditionally known as IBIS, in-body image stabilization, where the sensor itself moves to compensate for motion. Again, this is fine for handheld and static shots, but it's about as good at vlogging or moving shots as I am at reciting Nicki Minaj lyrics from memory. Not very. The A7c IBIS has no crop, but I think it tends to have a bit more shake and jitter than the ZV-E10's active steady shot. Which do you think gives you the smoother results? I said that I recommend neither built-in solution for vlogging, and perhaps what you're seeing now might make you agree. We are using similarly wide lenses on each camera, with the Samyang 12mm f2 on the ZV-E10 and the Sony 20mm f1.8 on the A7c. The viewing angle is normally quite comparable, but that crop with the active steady shot of the ZV-E10 makes a big difference, and while it's less jittery than the A7c inbuilt stabilization, the rolling shutter wobble is hard to avoid if you're walking. If only there was some kind of solution. And of course, I said that because there is. Thanks, scripting. Here is that same setup, but using catalyst browse gyroscopic stabilization. Full detail on that in the linked videos, but safe to say this is my preferred choice for vlogging stabilization. Both cameras have it and it works great on both. Catalyst also has a bit of a de-warping effect that helps remove much of the rolling shutter issues of the ZV-E10 to my eye as well. And as for rolling shutter, the ZV-E10 is clearly a Limp Bizkit fan from back in the day with that desire to keep on rolling. The A7C has a little, but as you can hopefully agree, it's far less problematic. If you're interested in other Sony options with slightly better built-in stabilization, then I've got dedicated videos for both the A7 IV and ZV-1 that you can check out. So I'd say stabilization is pretty even between the A7C and ZV-E10 if you're using Catalyst. If not, then you can work out which trade-offs between the built-in solution work best for you and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But an area where the differences should be more clearly cut is bokeh. Theoretically, one of the big advantages of having that larger full-frame sensor in the A7C. There's a detailed explanation of how bokeh differs due to sensor size and the reasons why in a dedicated video that I made, so you can check that out for more info. The short version is that with an equivalent focal length and the same aperture setting, the A7C will always provide more bokeh, or a shallower depth of field, than the ZV-E10 is able to achieve. If you want less bokeh on the A7C, you can always tighten, stop down your aperture, but if you want more on the ZV-E10 than the maximal setting, you can't do anything. So the A7C, at least on paper, has the clear advantage. However, you shouldn't think that the ZV-E10 can't produce really nice, attractive bokeh. With some good wide aperture lenses like the Sigma f1.4 range, you can find reviews of some of those too, you'll get really attractive results. And in reality, no one is going to be comparing your footage to how a hypothetical full frame shot might look. Both can provide gorgeous bokeh. The A7C can achieve more at a given aperture setting and more overall, but the ZV-E10 can give plenty. So, only let this be a significant factor if you want to become a true bokeh mod master, and that marginal difference really matters to you. So, bokeh can be brazenly bountiful on both, but which blur-bringing beast is best built? The A7C has a few clear advantages when it comes to design and build quality, but given the price difference, it would be pretty crazy if it didn't. You get a magnesium alloy body rather than the cheaper, more plasticky construction of the ZV-E10, which is better for both feel and robustness. Plus, while both cameras have decent fully articulating flip screens, only the A7C also includes an electronic viewfinder, which, even though it's a bit cramped, is still quite useful at times. Battery brings a bigger battering for the ZV-E10 than the average chip shop, with the A7C hitting 165 minutes compared to around 95 minutes in our 4K 24 frames per second video recording test. Though both cameras have no recording limit, and I've seen no overheating issues provided you film with the flip screen out. Much like dating Danny DeVito, you know that a compact form factor might mean you don't get the best ergonomic experience, and that is true for both cameras. Both are fine, but the A7C has a slightly nicer grip, while the even more extreme lightness of the ZV-E10 is an advantage that makes the experience there a bit more comfy. Ports on both cameras are pretty similar, with USB-C for charging and data, micro HDMI and audio input, along with headphone output, which is nice. Both have separate doors for their various ports, which I like, but the A7C wins with a much better located SD card slot position. Customizable buttons are similar across both, and that's good for the ZV-E10, given that you would rightly normally expect more expensive full-frame bodies like the A7C to have quite a number more customizable button options. Moving on to autofocus, and both cameras do a great job in good light. To maximize comparability for this test, I'm showing you both cameras using the same lens, in this case the Sigma 16mm f1.4 crop lens, which has strong autofocus in itself. You'll find consistently good results in good lighting, and since both cameras have the same focus transition speed and subject shift sensitivity controls, it's really evenly matched for options as well. So, where can we find the differences? Well, the ZV-E10 gets product showcase mode, a nice feature which makes the camera automatically switch from eye autofocus to whatever object is held closest to the camera, which is great for, as the name suggests, showing off products. The A7C requires you to cover your face to get a similar effect, and if your face looks like this, perhaps that's no bad thing, but objectively it is less convenient as a feature. However, the focus of the A7C still gets my overall vote for feature superiority because it's much better in a use case I care more about, which is low light. And I've actually done dedicated deep dives on the low light performance of both of these cameras separately. If you want to see a detailed side-by-side, do let me know, but since this video is already pretty long, let's go for the short version right now. And that short version is that low light is where the much larger full-frame sensor of the A7C makes a huge difference. The ZV-E10 is like a solar panel. Great when it's light, a lot less great when it's dark. The A7C is more like Batman, pretty slick in the day, maybe even more badass in the dark. Footage is far cleaner, sharper and more detailed at higher ISO levels with the A7C than anything the ZV-E10 can achieve. I'd say going up to ISO 6400 can be done with a little caution on the ZV-E10, so watch out at and above that level for noisy, soft or bad quality results. By contrast, I'm totally comfortable suggesting ISO 12800 will give you great results on the A7C in most situations, and indeed that even higher levels like 16,000, 20,000 or 25,600 can provide good results with more reliability and frequency than anything much over 6400 would on the ZV-E10. So if there's one category where the A7C takes a resounding victory, it's low light. But now it's time to draw our conclusions and run through our comparison highlights. Just before you throw up a little in your mouth at how bad that segue was, if you've enjoyed the video, other than that last part, please do like, subscribe, comment, and check out the affiliate links to support the channel, all the work that goes into it, and to help keep it going. And with that said, what is the verdict? The A7C is the better camera, and better experience overall in my view, but not by a huge margin in many areas, not in every category, and not necessarily on a pound for pound basis, given that it costs around 3 times as much. The A7C enjoys big advantages in low light performance and build quality, less dramatic but real advantages in bokeh, and comparable levels of stabilisation, resolution and frame rate options. So overall, the A7C on paper would take the win. It also clearly has better rolling shutter, and you could argue it has better stabilisation too. But things like product showcase mode and the potent portability are notable advantages for the ZV-E10. Indeed, I would say the ZV-E10 probably punches above its weight on a value basis. So I think the key question comes down to how much upfront cost is your main consideration compared to overall experience and capability. The ZV-E10 wins on cost, the A7C more on capability. So that's what I think, but as ever, it is your use case which matters. So let me know what you think down in the comments, but even more importantly, until next time, take it easy.